Hi everyone, it's Mary from StudioUs again, and I am bringing you another project that you can do right at home. Today we're going to be drawing a really wonderful dinosaur, and we are going to be coloring with colored pencils. As always, I am going to be using a pencil, a Sharpie, and an eraser. And I have my drawing paper ready to go, and I went ahead and marked the center of our page. I went ahead and did our first step so I could walk you through it. Let's do it. So to start, we have this sort of weird wonky shape that is going to be a little more narrow on the left side and then get wider towards the right. So what I did first was mark my sides, and I also marked my lowest point and highest point. I gave myself some dotted lines to try to get that shape as accurate as possible. And once I knew it was right, I drew it in. So go ahead and do that now. For our second step, we're going to add a few more kind of wonky shapes and lines. So to start, I am going to draw the head of our dinosaur, or what will be the head of our dinosaur. And it looks like it's going to start right about here. And it's going to come down and up like this before coming up and over on top. All right, very good. So we have our head drawn, but now we have some lines here that are going to form the legs, or the front legs of our dinosaur. So to start, I am going to mark where this line overlaps, and it looks like this first line here is going to start right about here, overlap here before coming down to about right here, before it comes up and over right about here, and then it's going to curve slightly like that. And then we have a slightly smaller line right here that's going to start about here and overlap about right here and overlap once more right about here. And this line is going to start by going up and in and back out. And it's going to round out like this before coming up and over slightly like that. Very good, let's keep going. All right, so now we're going to add lines that are really going to make that shape of our dinosaur very clear. We're going to draw the neck, and this line down here is going to start right about here, and it's going to round up and over like this. And again, it's about this wide. It's going to come up and over like that. So go ahead and draw those lines in. All right, very good. And then we are going to draw our dinosaur's tail, which is going to come all the way up and over to about right here. So I'm going to start a line right here on the back edge of our dinosaur, and this tail is going to come up and over like this, and it's going to meet right about here on top of our dinosaur, and this line is now going to come to a point before coming down and over like that. So go ahead and draw that in. All right, very good, let's keep going. Up next, we're going to draw some extra shapes on our second steps here, and these are going to extend the legs. So first, I see a line that's going to start right about here, and this line's going to come out and over and down like this. It's going to round out to the side before coming back up like that. So go ahead and draw that in. Perfect. Same thing over here. We have a line that's going to start right about here, and this line's going to come over to the right before rounding out and coming back out like that. So go ahead and draw that in. Very good. All right, now we can add our 3 spikes on top of our dinosaur. I know we have a lot of big dinosaur fans at the studio, so one of you guys is gonna have to tell me what kind of dinosaur this is because I don't remember. But let's go ahead and draw these little spikes. I see one right here that looks like it's going to come over and up like this before rounding out and overlapping the body again right where the tail and the back meet. So go ahead and draw that in. And we have another one, this one's more in the middle. It's gonna start right here and come in before coming up and then up to more of a point before coming back down and out and then down again. Just like that, perfect. Go ahead and draw that one in. And we have one more. This one's going to start about right here and it's going to come up and over like this before coming back down and around like that. I'm gonna make it just a little wider on the right first. Very good. And I'm gonna draw that in. Perfect. And now we get to do what I think is the most fun part. We get to draw our dinosaur's face. So I'm going to start a line right about here. This line's going to come up before it comes over and then back down and around into a smile, just like that. So let me clean up that line a little bit. Perfect. So super cute. And don't forget there's a tiny little line right above his smile. And don't forget we have a little nostril, so I have a little curved line followed by a little dash. And then we have the eye. The eye is a little half circle like this. And then we're going to extend a line over just like that. Really tiny. And one little eyebrow. Perfect. Let's keep going. All right, for this next step, we're going to do a lot of erasing. We're going to erase part of the head here and the inside of our dinosaur, right? We don't need the body anymore because we have our outer line. So go ahead and erase everything inside. All right, up next we're going to add some more bumps or some more spikes on the back. This one's going to come around and over like this. Very good. And then we have one right here. This one's very large. I'm gonna go ahead and give myself some dotted lines to draw that in. And it looks like it's gonna come over. All right, excellent. And then we have one more spike. This one's gonna start right about here and it's gonna come up and over to a point and then down and back in like that. Perfect. Nicely done, let's keep going. All right, now we're going to add some tiny little spikes and bumps on the neck and tail. Let's start at the neck. I see one right here. Nice and tiny. Remember, these are rounded. And this one's a little bumpy, a little wavy. And one more tiny one, just like that. Perfect. And then finally, we have some spikes on the tail. Now, These spikes are kind of like curved little points or little triangles. So I am going to start right here because there's one spike that's going to overlap with this spike here. And then we have another one that the point's going to be like this, and it's going to come down and around like that. The bottom's going to be rounded. That's going to help us keep that nice rounded shape. Then we have one right here. It's pretty close to the one before it. It's going to come up and around and down like that. And actually I'm going to straighten that line out just a bit. Perfect. We have one that's going to start right about here, it looks like, and it's going to come up and overlap that line before coming back down like that. Excellent. I'm going to curve it over just a bit more. Just like that. And we have one more that's right about here. And one more that's on the tail completely just like that. Excellent. Our dinosaur looks great so far. I'm really excited about this. All right, so let's go ahead and add these details inside of our little spikes on the back. So this line's going to come up to a little bump, one more little bump, one more, before coming back down like that. And I actually made this go up way too high, so I'm gonna bring that down. But see what I did? I went straight up, did my little bumps at different heights before bringing it back down. That's how we're gonna do it. Perfect. And then we have tiny little shapes inside of this. They're essentially going to match the outer line. So just draw it one more time inside and a little bit smaller. Let's add his other two legs. I see one here that's going to start right about here, and it's going to come down and to a point and then over like this. And then we have another leg over here. This one's going to start right about here before coming down and over and up. He's walking. I wonder where he's going. And there are three little dinosaur toes. Up next, we're going to add little claws on our dinosaur's feet. These again are going to be rounded at the bottom before coming up to a rounded sort of point. Let's go ahead and draw those in. Pay attention to where they overlap. All right, for this next step, we are going to erase the line of the tail that is inside of these spikes on the tail, right? So go ahead and get rid of those. There's just a few little lines there. We're gonna erase the inside lines inside of the claws on the toes as well. So go ahead, get those lines and clean them up. Up next, we're going to extend these spikes on the back into sort of spikes or patterns on the body of our dinosaur. So I'm going to start by drawing the shape that's going to be below each spike. It's almost like a shadow, right? The shape is going to stay the same, but it's going to be pointing the opposite direction. So once you draw that outside shape, go ahead and draw a slightly smaller triangle inside of it. Perfect. And then for these biggest spikes on the back, the spike below it that's pointing the opposite direction is actually going to start from these lines here. So this one's going to come over from that point and over from that point. before coming down slightly, right? So it's all connected, it's one big shape. So I'm gonna start at that point and come down and up and over like that. Again, coming down and in, perfect. And then one more here. This one is going to come over and back up to this point. Let me erase that line. And this is now going to extend down and up like that. Perfect. Same thing for these little guys. I'm gonna go ahead and draw that slightly curved point. Excellent. Wow, this is a gorgeous dinosaur. And don't forget, we have one more line. This one's gonna start right about here. It's gonna meet at the mouth and then bend out a little bit, just like that. Perfect. All right, let's add some of these lines for detail on the dinosaur's body. We have some little lines right here on the leg, and then we have a curved little line right here, almost for its knee, or what I think would be its knee. And then we have some lines in here. I see one like this, one that comes almost all the way over, one right here, and one right here. There's a little line right here in the elbow, and one right here by the ankle. There's a line here, and then a few lines right here, just some little detail. And I think that's those. And let's go ahead, we're gonna add little tiny footprints on the ground, like he's been walking in the mud. So I am going to mark where that first footprint is. It's right about here. And this is basically going to be like a skinny little loop that's going to come in and have a bump in the middle and be flat like that, like a little pancake. There's one slightly above it right here. This one you can see the toes a little bit better, just 3 little toes. The middle one is longer, so go ahead and get that in. There's a footprint right here. Again, you can see the toes a little bit better than you could before. And there's one right here. This one's the widest of all of them. All right, perfect. Now that we've drawn everything, we can go over our lines with our Sharpie. After we go over all of the lines we've made, we'll take our eraser and erase away any lines we have left. After that, we can start coloring. Let's get to it. All right, now that we've finished drawing our dinosaur and going over our lines with our pencil and Sharpie, we're ready to start coloring. To start, I'm going to color in our background with a nice light green. I'm going to apply my colored pencil with a medium amount of pressure, and I'm going to get a nice even layer in the background. Be sure to not go over those cute footprints in the ground. Those are gonna be muddy. So let's go ahead, color that in, and then we can start working on our dinosaur. All right, now that we've colored our background, this beautiful shade of green, we can start coloring in our dinosaur. Now it's important to note that the bottom half of our dinosaur is white, right? So we want to leave that color white, but it's not like a harsh line, it's blended. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take this light peachy color and I am going to lightly color a line, and I'll show you what I mean. Sort of like this, a little loose. And I'm gonna do this all along the body and tail of my dinosaur where the color separates from the white. And I'm going to do that so that I can better blend my colors when I move upwards. And I'm going to do that for the edges of the legs as well, because the inside is white and those edges are nice and white too. So let's go ahead and do that first. Just go ahead and block it in. Be sure not to color over the area that is actually white, but just where that white probably meets that color. I just want it to blend a little more nicely. All right, now that I've added just a little light touch of that peach color, I'm going to take a yellow now, and I am going to actually color in the yellow sections of my dinosaur, right? Then we can build on top with some gold, some orange, and then finally that blue. But I'm going to layer in the yellow that I see on the body and tail of my dinosaur, on the legs, and on the outer edges of these spikes. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to lightly go over that color. Again, keeping those highlights, right? We don't want to get rid of those, but I'm gonna be layering some color on top now. And that's really gonna help us build up this beautiful, beautiful dinosaur. So go ahead, do that now. All right, now that we've blocked in all the yellow, which looks wonderful, I'm going to go ahead and take a gold, and I'm going to block in or layer on top those slightly darker sections of our dinosaur. Then we can get into our oranges and reds. All right, perfect. Now I'm going to take a nice orange, and I am going to go over the most orange and reddish parts of my dinosaur and go around the edges of my spikes and where the spikes sort of extend onto the body. All right, now that we've layered some orange on top, I'm going to take this reddish brown and I'm going to go around the edges once more to really make those colors nice and vibrant. All right, excellent. Now let's go ahead and color in the blue middle sections of our spikes. I am going to push really hard in the center and then lightly taper off towards the edges so we get a nice gradient. So in the little line where it separates, I'm going to draw a line there and I'm going to push really hard upwards before then tapering off to the side. So go ahead and fill all of those in now. Next, I'm going to take a slightly darker blue and I'm just going to get some more detail into those little spikes, really pushing that value further. Perfect. Perfect. And I'm going to take that same blue that I just used and I'm going to push so very lightly. And I am going to put a little bit of a shadow on the white spots of our dinosaur. I see that particularly on the bottom of the neck, the bottom of the stomach and around the leg, the bottom of the tail, and a little bit over here. Again, just a very light touch to indicate some shadow. All right, excellent. Let's go ahead. I'm going to take a light brown and I am going to start blocking in some of the mud and footprints that our dinosaur has made. So I'm gonna do a light layer on the bottom of his right foot. I see some on these feet as well, just along the edges. Perfect. And let's go ahead and take a slightly darker brown now and really get that detail in now. Those little spots of mud, the shadows that you see in the footprints, right? Because footprints are deep. Perfect. I'm gonna take some black and fill in the eye and then give myself a little more detail on the bottom of the feet and the footprints. All right, and that's our dinosaur. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and please send us pictures of what you've made. We really can't wait to see it. And stay safe. We hope to see you guys soon.